Hey everyone, we just had Phil doing the little like I don't know, like the tiger, the Miami Gators kind of Snapchat, as we're getting going here, kicking this off. And as always, we are here every Monday. We are Helpopedia. We are a nonprofit focused on youth development, but of course, part of youth development and child development means that the parents have to be whole, so that they need tips and support so that they can enable their children to grow and thrive. So you've got me, Dr. LL, co-founder of Helpopedia, with my buddy here, Phil Vitrano, planning and vision. He focuses on college, or what happens if you don't go to college, what happens after high school, all of that what next stuff. And then we've got this guy over here, depending on where your screen is. Hopefully it's in that direction. We've got Bill Walters here. There we go, right? We can do the lineup. Like, oh, come on, Bill, find me. And Bill is a financial planner, and he focuses on all kinds of folks, helping them plan what's next, how to get ahead of all of this crazy stuff and churn that's going on in the markets. He also has a special needs child and focuses on parents who have special needs children and helping them plan their estates. And his site is just brilliant what he's got. It's like tax-free design, by Bill. Just let's chat. Keeps it really accessible. So with that, I think I've stolen all of Bill's thunder. Bill, why don't you give us your blurb and tell folks who you are and why you're here?
Well, thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Bill Walters. I'm the founder of Perfectly Imperfect Families. And with that being said, I'm a parent of a child that is IDD or neurodivergent. And what my focus is on is helping families, because I am one, as a parent, understand the complexities of emotional, psychological, and physical trauma that the family goes through when they're raising someone that's on the spectrum. And most people do not understand that. But when you come from a similar background, you get the feel for what's needed and what's taken. And standard financial planners just don't get it. And they end up screwing the people over because they just don't understand the trauma. And so my purpose is to help those, provide the services they need, and introduce them to advocates to help them get additional services. So that's what breaks my heart, is when they don't get them, and I'm here to help unbreak their heart.
Excellent. So let's kind of set some things up here in the context, because it is a pretty weird and wonky rule out there, world, I should say. And some of the things that we're seeing are increased debt. People are increasingly behind in mortgage payments, in credit card payments, and all of this stuff. Set up the context about why people need to be putting a little bit more attention into their finances. And you see so much on YouTube and all these social channels. It's like, oh, buy this lipstick, buy this. But they really need to be thinking about their financial future. Give us some of the stats. Give us the lay of the land. Where are we here?
So the lay of the land, and it's pretty scary. Right now, less than 10% of Americans, or continental U.S. people living, have $100,000 or more set aside for their retirement.
Wow, less than 10%.
Less than 10%. So what's happened is that between COVID and smaller paychecks and trying to keep up with the Joneses, or in this case, the Vitranos, right? You want to just have, they're keeping and they're spending and they're buying and they're putting it on credit card. And the average American is probably 6 months' salary in credit card debt when you add up all the different credit cards. And they really need someone to organize them and teach them how to pay them off. And I know how to cut them in half, because I just come to their house and I have a giant pair of scissors and I just cut them in half.
That'll do it. And the credit cards, you mean you're cutting those in half so you can't use them anymore?
Yes.
That's right. Well, I'm hearing a lot about doomsday spending, where people are saying, well, it's over. There's war everywhere. There's no hope for me. That's it. I don't care. I'm going to book a trip on a, I don't know, Alaskan cruise or Mediterranean cruise for 3 weeks. And no, I don't have the money, but why not? Live once, right? You only live once, YOLO. Is this part of the trend that you're seeing?
I'm seeing less of that and more of you just overall they want their house in better shape, and I mean their literal house in better shape, not their financial house. So they're doing remodeling and putting in pools, and they're not traveling as much, and so they're investing in the infrastructure of their house because their mortgage that they got, or if their house is paid off, is less than 4%. So they're just investing in their infrastructure and home because that's where they're going to retire, and they really don't have a way of paying it off. So they get a loan, and they keep getting more loans, and they're going further in debt. And what we don't want is you having to work as a greeter at Walmart at age 80 saying hello to put food on the table, which was what you don't want.
And so I want to just break that up a little bit, because putting an investment into your home to raise the value of it, so doing things that are going to improve the aesthetic. So, for example, you have a really pretty bathroom or a souped up kitchen. Isn't that going to add value into the house so that you're in better shape to sell it? Or is it because that people are probably going to stay in their homes longer and maybe even age in place in that home, that an investment that they can't pay for now is actually going to bite them in the butt later? Tease that
Yeah.
out for us.
So normally what's happening is the people are aging, and they know that their house is not up to date. And so they want to make it modern so things aren't breaking down. And they know that when they retire, they're going to have to do most of their meals at home because they can't afford to go out to eat a meal. And they're going to be doing, out of the given week, uh, we can just jump back and forth into the spending. But ultimately, what's happening is that they're spending a lot of money putting in the home, and then they're not saving for a rainy day. And back to the original question, way back when we started, a good saver is putting away 20% of their income, not 10, not 15, but 20. And that includes 401k, or if you're a solo or entrepreneur, a self-funded pension or a SEP, type of savings plan.
That's a great rule of thumb, Bill, and I wish that was penetrated in the school systems and in the family homes to overemphasize and celebrate the 20% rule, and be excited when they reach that goal each time they get a paycheck. Go ahead.
Yeah, you can set it up, and I'm a big fan of the shoebox theory. So if you take your paycheck and in literal words, cash it every week, and then you have shoebox in your house, and you allot a percentage to each shoebox, food, entertainment, car payment, house payment, and you allot the paychecks, and then you have it. So when that bill comes up at the end of the month, there it is. Well, in one of those shoe boxes should be savings,
Mhm.
right? Now, it doesn't have to necessarily be retirement savings. It could be emergency savings, because you always need to have 6 months of your month's bills sitting somewhere for you to have your access. And it shouldn't be in your mattress or in the refrigerator or the freezer or underneath the house. It should be sitting in an accessible spot.
Excellent. Great advice, Bill. All right, so let's jump into the 7 myths of financial planning. And I want to thank Bill for coming on to share those myths with us. And I'm excited to learn more.
No problem. So you would you like me to go and start from the top?
Yeah, tell us the big myths for the folks at home.
All right, first myth: the taxes will be less in retirement. If anything you've learned is that nothing goes down and it goes up. So taxes in retirement are going to go up, especially in the year 2026. See, in 2017, then President 45 passed the Tax Cut and Job Acts. And it was for 8 years. It lowered your personal taxes by 3% across the board, and corporate taxes by 14%, which are permanent. But what he didn't tell you, and what he didn't put into place really, is that it was for 8 years. And the good news was that he expected to be in the office for those 8 years for those tax cuts. And then in 2026, whoever came after him was going to inherit the mess that he created. And the mess is we're $36 trillion in debt, and it's growing in international debt. And because of that, they have to figure out a way, meaning the government, to collect those taxes. And where they're going to get it from is three areas. They're going to lower thresholds on Social Security. And what I mean by that is they're going to tax Social Security heavier. Okay. They're going to also create higher reachable points for Medicare and Medicaid. In other words, the deductibles. Okay. So they have to pay less money out. So say you're going to supposedly get $3,600 a month in Social Security at the age of 67. Well, based on this current plan, you're going to get taxed at that at 40% if it goes through, right? So you're really not getting, your 3,600. It's 3,600 minus 40% minus the cost of Medicare. So they're big talking points, okay? And taxes, you're going to have to pay for it. But the thing that everybody's not talking about, the white elephant in the room, is your 401k or your 403b, right? And that you're going to get hit with local and state tax where applicable, not in Delaware, but in other states where Texas or Florida or in New Hampshire, but other states where you're going to get hit with 34% to 40% range in distribution. So the taxes are not going down in retirement.
So my dad is a victim of the 401k and can't believe the amount of taxes he's paying with where he was growing that so much. Thank you, Uncle Sam, for making that investment for us and taking a big piece of it. What a great design for the government and Uncle Sam. So yes, I totally agree with you, Bill. It's a rude awakening. Yes, it is the white elephant. And the more people who know about it and aware of it, it's a person like you who could provide them with incredible guidance and insight to show them other strategies to put that elephant in somebody else's room.
Correct. The one thing, I don't want to stay on this too long because there's 7, but I want to tell you that there is a solution for your dad. Okay. And the solution is that he can do what they call, besides contacting me, a 1035 exchange, right, into something that grows tax deferred, but you're also going to pair it with something else that grows income tax free. And I don't want to get too deep in the weeds because I'm a geek and I live for this stuff. But ultimately, instead of paying 30 to 40% in taxes, I have a way for you only to pay 10% in taxes legally by buying tax code 7702, totally illegal and above board, and you pay 10% on your growth instead of 30 to 40. And that's how I help people. That's why my calendar is booked constantly, because of that one little thing I do.
That's outstanding. And that is a great insight to provide. Let's go to myth number 2.
You can expect your expenses to decrease in retirement. Well, most people don't really vacation a lot because they can't afford it right now. And what happens is when you're in retirement, you're idle. More idle time means more shopping. More idle time means more trips. More idle time means visiting the grandkids and family members and vacation. So
spending money.
Yes,
When
you're
you're idle.
spending money way more because you're not occupied by working.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a complete myth.
Outstanding. Number 3.
We're rolling through these.
Yes. You should stay in the lowest tax bracket always. Okay. So this is something that's put into place by CPAs and some financial planners. And they want you to stay in the same tax bracket or lower tax bracket. But they're looking at it from a short-sighted view, right? And sometimes it's better to take a hit in, say, year 2 of your retirement so that years 3 through 7 do not have the higher taxes, and you could actually have lower taxes by doing something that is proactive. So you pay more taxes in year 2 and then way less years 3 through 7. So in that way, it's better for you.
Yeah, so the projections of the plan associated with your 7 years is much smarter to understand and assess compared to the short-term vision of what you're going to pay at this particular point in time. I like that, Bill. Any comments, Laura Lynn?
Well, I think that what you're really saying too is that it's never a bad idea to talk to an expert who knows more about this stuff than you do. I'm not that gal. There's a lot of swim lanes I swim in. Oh, I can help you with this, grant writing proposals, all this stuff. But financial planning, no. I defer to the experts. You need to.
Yes.
Excellent. Myth number 4.
So delaying your SSI or Social Security income to max funding is your best plan. Now, I think every situation is different, but people can start collecting Social Security at age 62 and a half. And it depends on your economic situation. Would you rather get 80% of your max funding now to offset your increased cost, or if you're not making as much so you can pay off bills or pay off debt, it might become very handy for you. Now, if you're taking Social Security and max funding it, and that's going to happen at age 70, there's a big difference between 67 and 70. And it's usually about $800 a month, okay, which is significant, which is a lot of steak sandwiches, okay? So what you want to do is you want to look at your situation as you approach retirement. What's your debt to income ratio? How are you going to live life? Have you done this 6-letter curse word called a budget in retirement and know what your expenses are going to be? Because if you don't know what your budget number should be in retirement, which includes vacations and includes food, and heaven forbid you have a 30-year mortgage and you're 65, right? So you want to make sure that you understand what your budget is and when the proper time to taking so there's always a game plan.
Excellent. Very smart to know and understand your existing expenses and also your future expenses and what your plan for your income is, and then talking to Bill about the Social Security game plan. What's your best interest, and not the financial advisors.
And I'd add that you've got to have a little like squishy room in there because there's new things that come up. For example, in the lovely state of New Jersey that I call home, they've introduced the exit tax, which is 2% of the value of your properties if you leave the state.
That's correct.
Yeah.
But there is a way around that.
Yes, if you rent for 12 months. Right now, that's the loophole. But we don't know how long that's going to be in place.
And what do you think I'm doing right now?
Googling?
I'm renting.
Oh, you're ready? Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm renting. Yes. So that's one way around it. Yes. The other way around it is to have a secondary home and gradually transfer where you live to a place that is user-friendly in taxes. And then you transfer that as your primary residence while you're still living here. You're not exiting. It doesn't tell you that, right? So it's a good way around it.
Outstanding. All right, number
good nugget.
5. High five.
All right, 2 high fives. You don't get taxed on Social Security income. Now, this was a rumor going around that you're not getting taxed. Now, everyone gets taxed on Social Security. They're not changing that. And because right now, you ready for this? 1 million Americans are retiring every single day.
I heard that. Yeah, we are at like peak.
Yeah.
All those boomers, right?
1 million a day. So think about this.
Holy moly.
We are losing our tax base.
Mm-hmm.
Why would SSI not want to tax Social Security to have that income coming in? So they're going to tax. Now, is it at the same rate? No, it starts out at 12%. But as you have other income coming in, they're going to find a way to get you back into that 24 to 30% range because they want their taxes.
Mm-hmm. All right. So if I do the math real quick, 1 million per day, that's 365 million people. Are we talking in just the U.S. alone?
Yes.
Yes, that's the number.
Yes.
Who's going to pack my groceries?
Well, you'd be surprised. A lot of people are going to be running out of their money savings within 3 to 6 years, and they're going to have
Wow.
to go back to work because they didn't anticipate taxes. They
And
thought that
inflation.
and inflation and food cost and all these things that they didn't take into consideration. And so the smart people, if they're healthy, okay, you can't question health, but if the smart person, if they can delay to retire till they're 70, which I know is a scary thought because you don't want to work until you're 70, but if you can delay it, there are advantages to delaying it till you're 70, and because it's now your retirement savings only has to last 16 years as an average, because 50% of Americans live to age 86 and 50% live beyond 86.
So this is the next phase is the rude awakening for all
Yes.
these folks.
But it's already started. I mean, like, I
Yeah.
read a lot of this sort of stuff, and two things I'll point out, Bill. I'm sure you've seen this because you're completely on top of this market and all this sort of stuff. Number one in 4 boomers are boomeranging coming back into the workforce because they didn't anticipate the additional costs related to inflation and taxes and things like that. Number 2, states like Florida are being particularly hard hit. People that purchase condominiums thinking, oh, I'll retire early and just enjoy the palm trees and some nice little mocktails, cocktails, are just shocked because there are so many condominiums who are now condemned or undergoing millions of dollars in infrastructure upgrades. And condo owners are being charged $40,000, $50,000, $100,000 or more. If they don't pay, they lose access to their condo. So they have to go get jobs to pay for these infrastructure costs, which they're bound by because of their contract for owning a condominium. So you have to factor in horrible things like this because they happen.
What Florida has, so I don't recommend moving to Florida. I recommend living in Florida and renting from Florida because insurance, you don't get replacement costs for insurance anymore, and the insurance rates have quadrupled in the last couple of years from all the natural disasters. And so it's a great spot to visit, not a great spot to live right now because of the cost. Housing markets are high, but not astronomical. And with all these natural problems happening, it's, again, do you really want to own something in retirement? Do you want that debt? You know, the American dream is to have a house. I beg to differ. I think that you should rent, and because then you don't have the responsibility of maintenance and upkeep, and you don't need that nest egg as long as your money is earning more working for you in the backdrop. So if you sold your house and say your house is worth $600,000 and you got a 16% sign-on bonus on day one for signing up for your investment, because that's what happens when you do it with me, and then you grow between 10 and 17% every year, right, as an average, and your rent is $2,400 a month or $3,000 a month, you never catch up. You don't have to worry about that because mort is death. So all you're doing is you're paying a death note, right? Because it's their 30-year mortgage. Well, if you're 65 and you have a mortgage, who wants to be paying a mortgage at age 95, right? So rent, no responsibility, no maintenance fees, no upcharges, and you come and go as you please.
Outstanding, Bill. And I have a relative in Florida who lived there for the last 40 years. And now to get insurance to make sure they're covered, they have to replace their roof like every 8 years. It's just madness.
Yeah.
Madness. So thank you for myth number 5. Let's go to 6.
Yeah, once you start a withdrawal rate from, say, your IRA or your annuity, or if you have a steady payment, tax-free income, any one of these vehicles that supply a guaranteed lifetime income, you're not permanently fixed to that. So say your expenses go up and your withdrawal rate is 7%, you can increase it. It's done on an annual basis when you do a review, and shame on the person who's not reviewing with you at least semi-annually is minimum. But you need to review that so that you say, how are my expenses? Well, the 7% is not covering. I need to do 9. Okay, then you up it to 9 because you don't want to go into debt or take a second job, so you don't want to put it on credit cards. So you definitely want to, you can adjust the withdrawal rate. Now, why is that important? Well, it's important because your bills are going up. So what you thought your bills were going to be when you were in your 50s are not really what your bills are now. Think about what it costs for a gallon of gas versus what it costs to go shopping at a reputable food store, and what it costs for a pound of steak or a pound of chicken, and how much that has gone up since COVID.
Yeah. Outrageous. A dozen eggs.
Great.
It's crazy. And we've all got shrinkflation, right? It's like, oh, like for example, here's like my little nail polish. It's like, they're so tiny now. Like there's
Right.
nothing in them. And they're like 3 times the price they were a year ago.
It's like ice cream. Phil, you remember ice cream when we were kids? We used to get, Breyers in a gallon container. And now the same price, but it's shrunk and they have a concave thing. So you get like 4 scoops and it's done. Yeah.
They're very aerodynamic.
Yes.
Myth number 7.
Yes. Medicare will cover all your medical expenses in retirement. Now, the single largest expense you will have in retirement is healthcare, bar none. Okay. And because now Medicare, let's get some things straight. The first 90 days that you are getting home health care or long-term care planning comes out of Medicare. After that, it's on your own dime. Also, Medicare only covers 100 total days in the hospital in your lifetime. So if you're there 101 days, it's out of your pocket. So you better have a supplemental insurance plan in place when you retire because you're going to need it.
Excellent. What are those insurance rates? I mean, are they through the roof now these days, or is it easy
For
to get
Medicare, or is it for the supplemental?
the supplemental?
So there's a lot of good supplemental insurance companies out there. As a matter of fact, I know one that is really, really good, that it's less than $100 a month, and it doesn't go up as a supplemental insurance. Now, I can't say that on something like this. I can just say, contact me and I'll introduce you to it, because I don't want to, I'm not giving a free advertisement to somebody, and then I have to know their circumstances before I recommend them. But yeah, because the unique thing is it's very affordable if you don't have a lot of pre-existing conditions. Okay. Which means if you have heart trouble, kidney, liver, ulcers, cancer, right? They're not going to cover you for your treatments and your medicines, but they will cover if you go to the emergency room. So if you go into emergency room, they're going to cover that. But if you go incident free for 3 years, they will consider putting you back into full-time coverage. So it's things that you have to know the ins and outs, especially when it comes to the health insurance cost.
So, Bill, you've provided us with the 7 myths. Do you want to roll through them again and give us the 7? And you've already given us a bonus one about the New Jersey exit tax, which my little ears perked up with that. Yeah. But you want to roll through the 7 again for us?
Sure. I can roll through all 7, and I can give you an 8th if everybody's patient with me. Number 1, this is like Dave Letterman, right? Taxes will be less in retirement. Number 2, you can expect your expenses to decrease in retirement. Number 3, you should stay in the lowest tax bracket always. Number 4, delaying your Social Security to max fund is your best plan. Number 5, you don't get taxed on Social Security. Number 6, once you choose a withdrawal rate from your retirement source or your nest egg, you can never change it. Number 7, Medicare will cover all your medical expenses in retirement. And then the bonus one is you can wait for starting your savings for retirement. Now, this is my biggest pet peeve. The longer you wait, the tougher it gets because there's always going to be another need for that money. The best day to start is today in your game plan, whether you are 25 or 55. It doesn't matter. And I'll tell you real quick, if you start saving at age 25 and you put just $200 a month away or $50 a week, and you save with an average financial advisor or your 401k, if you do the quick math, and I'll do it for you, 40 years is $96,000. That theoretically will turn into $551,000 by the time you retire at age 67. Okay? 40 years of savings, roughly. Okay? If you wait 10 years later and you do 48,000 total savings, that money is only 221,000. And if you wait to get your first big boy job at age 45 and start saving 200, you're only going to have roughly, after 20 years of savings, about $105,000 saved because your money's only going to double in that time frame. So the importance is to start early, start young, and have a game plan where you're setting up your retirement game plan for your goals, dreams, and desires.
Excellent.
Outstanding. I think we should all have 20% savings parties every month.
Oh my God, I know, right? But I'll add too. I get it. I used to be a really good saver, and then I started some companies, and it's amazing where the money goes.
You'd be shocked when you meet with people and you see the truth, right? And you truly see the truth. Wow, it is. People are struggling and they need help on ways to save. And look, a proper advisor is going to give you ways to save on your daily expenses. He or she is going to give you advice on how to increase your ways to save money on daily expenditures by looking at your credit card bills. For instance, investing in a good coffee machine at home, as opposed to going to Star Schmucks or something like that, right? Because you can't afford to pay $9 for a coffee 3 times a day. I had one lady, won't name her name.
No naming.
She was $30,000 in credit card debt from Starbucks.
Oh my goodness.
And that's all that was on her credit card for a year.
Oh my
That's
goodness.
She was addicted 3 times a day. She was in sales, driving around, and she just put it on the credit card. And that's what she showed me at the end of the year-end statement. The only thing that was on the credit card was Starbucks.
Wow.
So invest in a good coffee maker.
Rent
Yes.
outside of New Jersey.
Yes. Right. So invest in a good coffee maker. Take a thermos with you. Have a cup. Pack a little thing in the front seat of your car if you're going on a trip, so at least you know the food's good. I mean, it's the old school way, but geez, think about that. $30,000 in something consumable that you had nothing to show for.
Yeah.
Simple trick.
That's tough. All right. With that, we are at the end of our show of Help Talk, the 7 myths of financial planning. And we've got Bill Walters here. Again, I'll point this way. He is the founder of Perfectly Imperfect Families, helping folks with special needs children figure out their financial futures. But what he's really dialed into are ways to help you today if you are in the United States and looking for support on trying to put your tax plan together and your financial plan so you don't get hit with all of those, oh no, unexpected bills when you retire. Bill Walters, you can find him here at the site below, Tax Free Design. Let's chat. Thank you, Bill.
Thank you for having me.